Good afternoon. I'm Mark Allen with Gaper.io, and I'm here today with Max Bidna, the co-founder and CEO of Hell's Creative. Good afternoon, Max.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. How you doing?
I'm good. Self-quarantine life isn't too bad in California, but it's definitely a struggle day to day for everyone.
Yes, it is. I know. The sun is out today in the Bay Area, so I'm probably going to take a little walk later.
Yeah.
So to get started, can you share a brief background of yourself and your work experience?
Absolutely. To make a super long story short, I'm kind of the classic millennial entrepreneur. I founded my first company when I was 16 years old. Ended up selling off some of the assets of that company, majored in entrepreneurship in college, went to work a little bit on Wall Street, helping early stage companies raise capital. So I've dabbled in venture capital, investment banking, private equity. And then now I really wear a marketing and advertising hat. So I've worked with myself well over 200 startups, helping them grow their marketing and sales channels. Our agency that we've now been using as the vehicle to actually help those companies work with more than 100 startups. And I'm just kind of at the intersection or at the cross streets of marketing, sales, and finance.
Oh, great. Very interesting. That's quite a varied background.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a lot of my mentors tell me that it fits under the CRO frame, but when I first created a Twitter account when I was younger, I said I don't want to ever put labels on myself or anyone. So that's why I just say that the kind of classic entrepreneur, although I guess that's a label in and of itself.
A little bit, yeah, but it means different things to different people. So that's kind of good.
Exactly.
So, what has been your experience with remote employment and both as an employee and an employer?
Yeah, so it's funny, over the last few weeks, a lot of my friends have been texting me how our company's shift to work from home has gone, and for tips, as weird as that sounds, because we are a business that's designed to work remote. The reason why I left finance and Wall Street in New York is I wanted to be able to work from my laptop. I read this great book that probably most people listening to this podcast are familiar with called 4-Hour Workweek.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I don't really want to work a 4-hour workweek because I like what I do, but I want to be able to have the freedom to bring my laptop and work from wherever I want.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 4 full-time employees and everyone works from their laptop. Everything is on the cloud. We run our entire business through Google. All 4 of our current employees are in New York, and we do have offices there, but we do work from home every single Friday. And to kind of come back to the question, so I can go off on tangents, but to come back to the question, we've certainly hired our fair share of remote workers. I think our business really leans into it. And with Slack and with Google Hangouts or Zoom, it's really, 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 it remain 99% as efficient as you would in an office.
Mm-hmm.
I've never worked fully remote for a company, but almost half of our clients are outside of New York. So technically, like, they're all of our clients are my bosses.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't really met any of our clients face to face, even the ones in New York. Everything's over Zoom and over Google Hangouts.
Wow.
I'm a big fan of online and via Slack, via email, via Google Hangouts. You can run an entire 100, 200 person company. I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, and just for reference, how many customers do you have?
At any given time, we have between 15 and 20 clients that we rotate through. So,
And you've never met them?
I've met, out of the 15 or 20 that we have now, I've probably met 3 or 4 face-to-face.
Mm-hmm.
We have clients in London, Amsterdam, Mexico, LA, San Francisco. I mean, it's just, we have clients all over. And that's really the beauty of what we do. It's really cool to be able to meet someone from around the world. One of our all-time favorite clients we've been working with for 2 years is out of London. I met them face-to-face once because they came to New York for a trade show. And I said, okay, I have to take you out to dinner in New York. Like, we have to do the classic, like, Don Draper power dinner kind of setting. But yeah, it's not Mad Men at all. It's not people coming into their office and smoking and
Mm-hmm.
and sitting around a boardroom. It's very much AirPods in, getting the work done, sending Slack messages even to someone that's sitting next to us. And on the note of remote work, my friend said to me a couple of weeks ago when we were all just starting to kind of work from home, he said, I don't get why people are so shocked about remote work. Like, how do you trust that your teammates are going to get stuff done Whether you're at a startup environment, which you know very well, you know, the
Mhm.
kind of the bullpen where you're sitting a bunch of people next to each other, you're not looking at your coworker's screen. You don't know if they're on Facebook or watching something naughty, or you don't know what they're doing. Everything in some capacity is remote work.
Mhm.
So like it's just the mindset that people struggle with, and I find that a lot of our team members actually get the most amount of work done on Fridays when it's work from home.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, it's a pretty amazing thing. It's all in the mind.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Like just a little story I'll share with you. I'm doing some work now for a company that one of our developers is in Italy, and because of the time difference, when he and I are talking, it's generally at night for him. And one of these days we were on, a Zoom call like this, and he took the
Yeah,
laptop over to the window, and I could hear the people. They said the people in Italy are going outside on their balconies and singing,
and singing. Yeah,
and he like I'm watching it live. It was kind of cool.
that's sick. Yeah, one of our clients actually, their headquarters is in San Francisco, but their marketing team is actually in Milan, Italy.
Hmm.
And so we're on our weekly calls with them. We have been learning a lot. We spend the first like 15 minutes just asking him, how's it going in Italy? Because you read the New York Times article, you read all these articles on Medium of people posting, but like hearing it from someone who's actually there in a
Mhm.
full lockdown quarantine, and then being able to shift his mind from telling us, okay, X amount of thousands of people are getting arrested every day for going outside, to like, hey, what's the return on ad spend for this particular
Mhm.
ad, or what's the right targeting that's working for this particular marketing persona. It's pretty impressive, and I think he grew up in San Francisco and moved to Italy to run this team, and like it's
Mhm.
it's a mindset thing. That's all it comes
Yeah,
down to.
it is. So, while we're talking about remote employment, what do you think is the future of it, and what can make it more effective?
um, I think we're starting to see the future of it now. I mean, the Zoom calls are helping a lot of companies facilitate those meetings that they have to have. I
Mhm.
think we have all the tools that we need to have hundreds, if not thousands, of people in a company work remote.
Mhm.
I think we've had them for years. I think it's just something like this. Unfortunately, it's a pandemic that caused it, but something like this to make a lot of people who are maybe on the fence about it shift over to fully remote workforces. I'm kind of shocked that Zoom has been the company that has gotten the most amount of success out of this. Like I said, we run our whole business off of Google.
Mhm.
And so we use Google Docs, Google Analytics, and also Google Hangouts, which has the same functionality as Zoom without the gallery view.
Right.
So I think we have everything that we need. I don't think there's anything that's going to come out that's going to drastically push people there. I think if anything, this pandemic will be the number one driver for as long as we're alive to get people to work remote. And like I said, like I almost talked to my friends about doing a master class about how to get your mindset right
Mhm.
to work from home. And you read all these tips right in the first few weeks that you probably saw on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
You see like 3 things you need to have on your desk at home to have an optimal, working environment. Like you don't need any of that. Like I read one, it was like a little cactus humidifier, $15 on Amazon that makes it easier to breathe and it stimulates your like, no, like you can work on a laptop on a beach if
Right.
you have the right mindset and if you can focus. So I don't think there's one thing that needs to happen. I think I've been a big proponent of it for a long time, and we're headed there.
Yeah. And I think it's different for everybody what they need. I think it's a mindset, and once you get into that mindset, it's great. And I mean, I've learned, because I've been doing it for a while now, I can turn it on and off, right? You know, it's kind of like, you know, when I'm raising my kids, I go from being, a worker to dad, right?
Yeah.
It's a switch.
I don't have that experience yet. I have a girlfriend, so
Mm.
I think we're probably actually going to adopt a dog in the next few weeks since we're having a lot of new free time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I have a lot of friends who have kids, and they say it's actually a challenge to come home from work and turn off the work mind, and be able to open up my arms to my kids and have them run and hug me, and be there, present, like be mentally present. And I think it's that same type of mentality that's going to be just as hard for you to do, or if not harder to do, when you work from home.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can figure out what it is, whether it's music, whether it's putting on your full attire as if you're going to the office. One
Mm-hmm.
of my friends said he actually every morning when he wakes up, he showers, puts on clothes, walks around the block as if he's walking to the office to get some fresh air, and then sits back in his bed, but still sits back in his bed and does his work.
Actually,
So like whatever it is, you got to figure it out. But I think more and more companies will adapt it because of this pandemic. And also, like, as a business owner, we have overhead that's office space. And as a guy who also owns some real estate, some residential real estate, like, I don't think I would ever in a million years own commercial real estate now.
Right. Yeah. There's going to be a difference. It's funny. I talked to one entrepreneur that what he said he does to get ready is he gets up in the morning and showers, does his normal stuff, walks down to the local Starbucks, gets a Starbucks, and then comes back home, but comes in the back door. So it feels like he's going into work. And that's what works for him.
Again, like, it could be the weirdest thing. Maybe you do need that little cactus humidifier, right? Like, maybe that's the thing that unlocks your productivity.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, like, find it and then you're good to go. I think the most I've ever worked fully remote from our office has been 2 weeks. We're going now on our third week remote work from home. And the one only downside I'm seeing to it is just the camaraderie of being in an office.
Yeah.
You know, as much as you can try to do Zoom, like one of my friends' companies did a Zoom call where everyone had to wear a funny, silly hat. I have cherries on my beanie, but you know, like really funny hats or funny glasses. It's not the same as the camaraderie of laughing, going and getting lunch together, those side one-off conversations. I think that really the only thing that you can't match 100% to work from home. And I think that's never going to change, right? We're humans. We need human contact.
Yes.
Maybe the trick is to get a puppy, and that way, you know, your side thing is like petting a puppy. I don't know.
Who knows?
But yeah, I like 4-hour work week really just changed my entire mindset to work from home and process and skills. It's like out of this world how easy it is for organizations to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I actually read that book too about probably over 10 years ago. I read it for the first time. So what is the story behind Hell's Creative and what's the journey been like?
Yeah, it's, you know, do you have a 6-hour time slot to record a docuseries? No, it's been interesting. It's been really fun. Honestly, I've really loved a lot of it and honestly dreaded a lot of it too. Being an entrepreneur is a grind. And anytime someone reads on a Inc. magazine cover or a Medium post that it's easy to start a company, or if you read a story, anyone that tells you just the good parts is doing you a disservice. It's a grind, no matter how good it's going. I like to say, because I've lived in Hell's Kitchen for so long and my agency is Hell's Creative, everyone lives in their own hell. So you could be making millions of dollars a year with a huge profit margin, with a great team, and some client is still going to give you, or some customer is still going to give you an absolute nightmare of a situation. And that's going to, you know, control your mind for a few days or a few weeks. So to make a super long story short, when I was working in investment banking, I realized that no matter how much money our clients would invest in a startup, if these startups didn't have a good marketing plan, they'd go out of business and our clients wouldn't be happy. Our investor partners wouldn't be happy. And I really didn't want to wear a suit and tie for the rest of my life. And like I said, I read 4-hour work week, like 6 months into investment banking. And I was like, damn, like 80-hour work weeks just suck. So I taught myself Facebook ads, Google ads, Instagram, all that fun stuff, convinced some of the clients, the investment bank, to let me run some ads for them. And I had some crazy success. I worked a couple extra months, saved some money, and then quit and started Hell's Creative. At first, we did everything under the sun in marketing. It was like, oh, you have a startup, you don't have a lot of money to pay us, we'll do literally anything you need. And it got to a point where someone was like, oh, do you know how to build like Salesforce architectures? And me and my co-founder was like, yeah, totally. No, never opened up Salesforce before. And we just Google it and YouTube it. And like the client was happy, like you know, and to them, like any other agency would have charged them 25 or 30,000 bucks. And we were like, we'll do it for 5 maybe. And they were like, oh, done. Like, here you go. And, you know, we started off doing that. At one point we were doing 17 different services for 27 different clients.
Wow.
Working. And I still have the screenshots of our Clockify, like time app. We were working like 80 to 100-hour work weeks, him and I both, but still making no money because we were servicing startups. So we got to a point where we said, this is not scalable. We want to really get to a point where we can, make a decent living and hopefully be able to scale the business. So we made a list of all of the different 17 services that we offered, right? CRM buildings like Salesforce, but also landing page building, websites, logo design, pitch decks, Facebook ads, like everything. We numbered them 1 to 17. What is the highest profit margin? So what can we charge the most for that takes us the least amount of time to do? And then number 2, what actually brings the most amount of value to our clients?
Mm-hmm.
The number 1 thing on that list of 17 was actually Google ads. Because Google ads, when you find the right keywords, you find the right ads, there's really not a whole lot of optimization, even when you're spending 50, 100, 200,000 bucks a month on ads. And so for like 15 or 20 minutes, we were about to just pivot to be a Google ads only agency. But then the second one on that list was Facebook ads. And we realized that Facebook and Google ads go hand in hand. So we handed back the money to like 12 out of the 17 clients and said, sorry, here you go. We wrote a letter that we mimicked off of the famous Mad Men letter where Don Draper writes why he's quitting tobacco. We wrote why we're quitting full service. I think it had about a 70 or 80% positive reaction. And some people absolutely hated it because we used the word fire our clients, where he in the TV show says we're going to fire, our tobacco clients. But at that point, like our revenue more than doubled within 2 months because we went all in on Facebook and Google ads for startups. That was about a year and a half ago. It was just the 2 of us. Now we have 4 employees full time. Like I said, we've worked with just under 100 companies to date. And it's been fun. There's a lot of really good days and there's honestly a lot of really crappy days, but I don't know if I'm allowed to curse in here, but
that's okay.
Okay. But it's fun. And there's nothing more rewarding than helping a company take $10,000 of money sitting in their bank and turning it into $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in purchase orders or leads or services or whatever that is. So it's been fun and rewarding.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I've dealt with people that have asked me about Google ads and it's a great form of advertising. But the big thing is if you're not familiar with it, it's hard to get your arms around it. And you can spend a lot of money really quickly with it if you don't have the right words and the right audience and you're getting clicks from, parts of the world that you would never even consider doing business in, it can add up pretty quickly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, adding the difference between a bracket and a parentheses or a quotation could mean an extra $500 a day just blowing on the wrong keyword.
Yeah.
And so like on my sales calls, I often say, what's the value of Google ads to you? Well, what's the value of a basketball to Michael Jordan? Like, what's the value of a basketball to me? Nothing. What's the value of a basketball to Michael Jordan? It's, literally $1 billion because of his trademark. What's the value of Google ads to a startup founder who's trying to wear 100 different hats and thinks that they can do it on their own? They could lose tons and tons and tons of money. So for the right companies, Google ads is by far the number 1 way to scale your business. We have 1 client now that pays our, multi-$1,000 a month retainer, but literally only spends $500 a month in ad spend because we figured out the right keywords that no one else is bidding on, that thousands of people a month Google. And so their $500 nets them 50 to 70K in revenue every month. Like a stupid case study that I couldn't even put on our website because people would be like, that's not possible. With the right business, with the right keywords, Google ads can absolutely transform your business. With the wrong keywords, like you said, you can almost go out of business. So
you can.
That's why we exist.
Yeah, that's great. And I think your services are going to be more and more in demand as the internet, I think, is here to stay. So I think it's going to get even bigger and bigger.
Yeah. I hope so. We are just finding more and more ways to innovate our business model. So, most agencies charge a % of ad spend, or they'll charge a huge retainer and nickel and dime you on every ad or nickel and dime you for every meeting. Because I didn't come from an agency world, I really took a completely different approach to it. And I think a lot of people find it refreshing, but as more and more people adapt to our model, we need to continue to innovate and kind of set the pace of the race that we're all trying to run. But there's enough clients out there for everyone.
Yeah, cool. So due to the ongoing pandemic, many companies have been forced to go remote like that, on a moment's notice.
Yeah.
So what do you think have been the major roadblocks and challenges that they've been facing in your company yourself? Sounds like you haven't really, because you've been, you're small enough, but what about some of your clients?
That's a good question. I think the majority of our clients are e-commerce brands.
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest roadblocks they're facing are inventory and the actual manufacturing of their products, because everyone's now either selling off the shelves or has a ton of inventory lying around. It's become kind of hard to get a hold of the manufacturing companies in China or India. But in regards to companies here in the States that are having major roadblocks of going work from home, I think number one, it's exactly what we were talking about. People are just not ready for it because they've never done it.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you set processes in place to make sure that everyone feels like other people are doing their work? Make sure that you are motivated to get up in the morning and do your work, I think is definitely the biggest challenge. And then also, I think from a technology standpoint, I have a lot of friends that work in enterprise sales,
Mm-hmm.
and they sell software or hardware to Fortune 500 companies. For the first week and a half, they could not get anyone, even companies that were just on the finish line to buy their product or service, to respond to an email or respond to a call because their IT departments and the majority of big companies are on Microsoft servers, so they're on VPNs,
Mm-hmm.
and the entire IT departments of all these huge, late stage startups or early, publicly traded companies were having to change their entire IT model to be work from home and work remote. And from 50 to 100 people a day on VPN, now 10,000 people a day are on VPN.
Mm-hmm.
And you build that infrastructure. So I think a lot of companies lost time and momentum in the first week or 2 weeks getting all these things live, creating a Zoom account, learning how Zoom works. And all these little things add up. Shavings make a pile. So all this time spent at the beginning of a call trying to figure out Zoom, wondering if you're going to be late.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think those are huge roadblocks, but I think getting processes in place that let everyone else know that everyone around them at their normal, in-person office is also working.
Mm-hmm.
Things like Asana, things like Monday.com to see what other people are doing is just a quick way to make it easy.
Yeah, and as soon as you bring up VPNs, I had a podcast with the VP of engineering at a security company, and they basically offer VPN as a service instead of having the hardware. Right? So it's a lot easier to scale it now.
I think some companies outside of just like the companies selling hand sanitizer, right, and selling toilet paper, there are some tech companies that are going to come out of this actually,
Stronger.
a million times Xing their business. Since we're on a podcast and we're recording this, I will make a little small prediction that I actually think Zoom will be hurt from this in the long run. I think that their current PE ratio is 1,300.
Ooh.
Their stock PE ratio is 1,300, which is 1,000 times more than than a healthy one. So I think a lot of people are getting on the platform and their stock is absolutely going to tank.
You're saying short them.
I absolutely short Zoom because yes, they're going to be making a ton of revenue in the short term, but my mom just created a Zoom account so that she could Skype or Zoom. We say Skype like it's Google, right? So that she can Zoom with all of her friends during this. But once she can go back to having lunch with her friends and meeting with her coworkers again, that's just a churned client.
Yes, I agree. So there's companies like Gaper that help develop, build, and scale products, especially for startups. How important do you think such setups are going to be in the future where, these startups I think they mainly need quality employees, but they all need them right now. So how big do you think this is going to be?
I think it's going to be huge. I've thought it's going to be huge for a while now. And I think the pandemic is just going to push people more and more into that direction. I'm shocked how many of my friends who run startups, who are entrepreneurs, don't know that Upwork exists or don't know that freelancer.com exists. They go on there, they hire a virtual assistant overseas, and then they're like, wow, this is the best thing ever. And they stop there. And they don't realize that you can hire a CMO, a fractional CMO, a fractional VP of technology. You can hire a fractional salesperson with platforms like this, right? Like I think the education is what's the most important thing, and letting entrepreneurs and startups know that this technology exists and that on the other side of this awesome technology SaaS platform are real people that have real experience that can actually lend value to you at a price that you can probably afford. So I think it's definitely important, and it's going to continue to go that way and shift that way. The gig economy is real, but the gig economy goes a lot farther than Uber and you know, Uber Eats drivers and Airbnb cleaners. The gig economy is my friend who makes $150,000 a year just taking on Upwork projects a couple times a month. You know, that's the gig economy. He picks up a couple gigs a month and he builds amazing websites, or he crushes amazing logos, and you know, that's the gig economy. That's where we're headed.
Yeah, I agree. And there are some really talented people out there all over the world.
Yeah. And again, like I posted once that I took a screenshot on my Instagram story once that I hired someone overseas to do a project for me. And my friend commented, "You should be hiring American. You should be hiring America." And not to get political, but she's a total like liberal Democrat, right? Not like, she's like, "But you should be hiring America. Like, there's plenty of people in America that can do this." And I said, well, maybe the person in that country can do it not even less expensive. Maybe they can do it for the same price. Maybe they're just a harder worker than anyone I can find. And maybe they're just readily available now. And by the time it takes to get someone to come in, you know, let their company go, let their company know that they're no longer working with them, or whatever the process is. Sometimes it's easier. Sometimes this technology just makes it easier. Yeah. So I think this is the best thing ever, right? Like we used to have a full-time employee in Pakistan. Full-time employee. They'd work New York hours. They worked for us for a year and a half. Unfortunately, something happened with their family, so they had to leave. But like,
well, I mean,
this is the world, and it's amazing. It makes it easy. It's never been easier to start a business, to grow a business. It's not that it's easy to do. It's just never been easier, and platforms like this help that.
And on that note, I mean, I've heard that same thing from people. And one of the things I say is, you know, because this is not our area of expertise, we find someone in another part of the world to do it cheaper, but that lets us grow the company faster. And then we actually get to hire more people in America. And I've seen that happen over and over again. That's what really helps the startup stay afloat as opposed to going under.
Fact. Yeah. I call those like bridge employees. Like that, like freelancer is now, I guess, a derogatory term. I think I have a lot of predictions. I don't know why I have that, but I think in the future, I guess this is a podcast and I'm being interviewed, but not that I know any more than anyone else, but I do think that just like entrepreneur was a dirty term for so long and then became almost like a celebrity. I think freelancer is going to be the same thing in the years to come. Yeah. But those bridge freelancers that, you know, we have it with our company all the time because our product, our service is people. It's our strategies, it's our ideas, it's our brain power. And getting a bunch of new clients in the door and not being able to service them is a real issue. It's not like an app that could just be downloaded, just copy and paste the file onto your iPhone and, you know, you could use the app. So we use bridge employees or bridge freelancers all the time. And it's just value. They just bring value at a cost that's healthy and that's reasonable. Yeah.
And you can bring them on quickly and you use them for exactly what you need them for. And then thank you. And it's, you know, it's a mutually beneficial arrangement.
Yes, exactly. And there's not an awkwardness when it comes time to separate ways.
Right.
Like I've had to let a couple employees go before, and that's a tough thing to do. And so when you hire people for a contract work for a month, for a couple of weeks, for 6 months, and then you go, it helps the mental side of it, for sure.
Yeah, no, it certainly does. So, well, Max, I got to tell you, this has been great talking to you today. This has been very informative. And I wish Hell's Creative lots of luck in the future.
Thank you.
And have a great day.
Yeah, take it easy. Right, thanks for having me. Bye.